Hello, Standers. Sheila Hollinger here with Marriage Revealed Ministries. Marriage Revealed Ministries is a restoration ministry. We are here for so much more than just your marriage. That is the bigger picture that all standers need to come in contact with. They need to be transformed and renewed in their understanding. They need to grow in this knowledge that when you come to a restoration ministry, you come for marriage, but you leave with a deeper understanding, a bigger picture, because there is someone else's relationship that is way, way more important and that needs to be restored above yours. We come to learn that there is a question that we are not even entertaining. Are you standing for the same thing as God? And when we first come to stand, we all know what we're standing for. We're standing for one thing, for our spouse to leave the situation they are in. If they're in adultery, if they are just running away, if whatever they're in addiction, we are praying and asking God to remove them out of that situation, remove them out of that bondage, and bring them home to us. We're also praying in the beginning that they would fall back in love with us if our spouse has confessed that they no longer love us. So again, it's another thing that we're standing for. We're standing for healing over the hurts and all those places. But is that all God is calling you to? Is there something bigger, something more important? And that's where the question starts to come in. Whose relationship is more important, yours or God's? We start to realize that the relationship, our marriage, didn't break because of something we did. It wasn't about marriage at all. Spouses don't just walk away from the Lord when they have a really good relationship with Him, when they know who He is, when things are right in their heart. They don't just walk away from Him. They walk away when there's something broken, when there's something not right in their relationship with Him. So many come to find themselves in this storm because either their spouse or themselves were an unbeliever, or they were lukewarm or cold. If you look at King David, he fell into adultery and he had a wonderful relationship with God. He knew who God was. He loved God. He was a man after God's own heart. So how did David fall into adultery and murder and lying? He had a place in his heart that was not submitted to God. So even if you have a spouse who goes to church, even if you have a spouse who is in leadership, worship team, loves God, knows the Bible inside and out, and they fall into deception, that means that some part of them was holding back and not giving that heart place to God. We're supposed to love Him with our whole heart, our whole mind, and our whole soul. Basically, our whole being is supposed to be submitted and surrendered to God. That's in our beliefs and our understanding. When we have a place that we just want to hold back and give over to sin, to lust, to our desires, that's a place in our heart that God knows does not belong to Him. And God's goal is always the same. And if our motives do not line up with His motives, He has to get us aware of that. And He understands how many of us first come to Him with only one desire: for Him to restore our marriage, for Him to give back to us what we've lost, for Him to understand the pain that we're in, and that we really do believe that we're there for one reason. But He's not there for that one reason. God is a God of restoration, and His restoration includes the most important thing, which is eternity. He wants to make it sure that we all make it home to him. Marriage is not going to save us. It's not. When you get to heaven, you will stand before God alone. You will give an account for you, for what you've done. And you will be giving an account for your relationship with him. He's going to look at you and he's going to say, do I know you? He's not going to say anything to you in regards to your marriage and how that marriage took you away from him. He's not going to just talk to you about your marriage and how the whole world revolved around your marriage. He's going to look at you and say, do you know me? Do I know you? What have we done together? How much time have we spent together? When you're standing in front of him, in the end, that's really the most important thing, the absolute most important thing. If you come and if you have this mindset that it's just marriage, it's just family, you're missing out. And that is something that I had before my face, and only before my face. I was not eternity focused at all. Nothing about eternity was ever in my, in the forefront of my mind. And because of that, when I had my marriage, under attack, when I went to God, of course, that was all I thought about. It was, of course, all I understood and all I wanted back, because I did not understand what God was trying to say to me. He was trying to say that his relationship with me, with my husband, was pretty much non-existent. We were so lukewarm, and nothing about our lives were focused and centered on him. It was focused on so many other things. That day to day, over everything that comes at you, just, life. And God would be like on the back burner, or maybe one day we would want to spend some time with him or go to church, and, but he just wasn't permeating every bit of our being, our hearts, our minds. And God knew this. He knew that this storm was the very thing that had to come and wake us up to his purpose, his goal. We make it all about what we want, and we just don't look at him and what he wants. And so when we first come to stand, everything about it is motivated by our hearts and what we're being driven through with the pain and everything. But God is telling us that it's so important that what he wants, which is to get us home back to him, that is the big picture. And it's everything that comes at you every day that will try to come and make this stand about you. And when you wake up and you are really in your emotions and you're really in your feelings, you're going to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And when you say that, what you're basically saying is, I have forgotten the bigger picture. I'm back to, I don't want to do this anymore because it's only about my marriage, and because I don't want my marriage restored anymore. I'm too hurt. I have completely forgotten that this really is about praying for my spouse to come out of darkness and into the light and have a relationship again, or a first relationship, knowing who they are in him. So when we let the feelings and emotions and the details come at us, it makes us forget that this is about Jesus having a personal relationship with each of us. We cannot just quit standing when we have a spouse who is lost and in the dark. Because then what we're basically saying is, this is still about me. This is still about my marriage. It's still about what I want. And it's not about you, Jesus, and not about your relationship with my spouse. That's why we don't quit. We don't quit until our spouses are changing in their heart, their understanding, and they are seeking Him, and they are repenting for walking away from Him, walking away for what's important to Him, and living in a life of being lukewarm. That's where we have to be praying and focused if we have an unbelieving spouse or a lukewarm spouse. That is the main thing that has to be front and center, day and night. I am not saying that our marriage is not important to God. It is absolutely important because He created marriage. He said that it was not good for him to be alone, which is why He created the helpmeet, why He created Eve. But He also, if you understand this, when He created Adam, He did not make Adam and Eve together at the same time. He needed Adam to be established first as a son. That is so important to grasp. He needed him to know who he was first in his identity as a son and as an authority to walk the earth and to rule the earth. If He would have created Adam and Eve together, their identities would have gotten intermingled and they would have found identity in each other, and it would have distracted them from their real identity in Him. And because Adam was already established fully as a son of God, as a man that walked the earth, Eve was not able to come in and alter his identity. It was already firmly rooted and grounded. And so many of us go straight from our parents and straight into marriage. And when we are coming from our parents and we don't know our identity is in Him, and then we go into marriage without having that time to become so firmly rooted in Him, our identity gets lost. It gets really identified with what has happened to us, our past, what people have told us. And it's time now. Take this time. Learn your identity in Him. Become eternity focused. That is so important. We are only here for a blink. That's it, a blink. And in that blink, our goal was to find Him, to know Him, to become so focused on loving Him and being loved by Him. It was not here to find happiness, to find a soulmate, to become married and make that the only reason we were ever put on this earth. That has nothing to do with it. And that is the blindness, that is the darkness that standers walk in, that He is trying to get us to. His relationship must be first. Otherwise, everything else is an idol. And you know how He feels about idols. So I wanted to thank you for joining me today. Put this message first everywhere that you can see it. The most important thing is God's relationship first. Always. God bless you.